Okay. All right. So to continue on with Hinduism. So last module, we looked at the early Vedic period in terms of the rise of the Aryans coming into India. They bring their religion, their various gods, their view of the afterlife. What I looked at the three key rituals that they do in terms of domestic in the home, the father, the head of the house, the Atharvan priest, excuse me, who does healing kind of rituals, and then the larger public rituals that are done for the community. And so here, excuse me, here I need to talk a little bit about the Hindu scriptures, okay? Because what happens here is the scriptures were used for their rituals, and there's quite a collection and body of scriptures that evolve over time. And as new scriptures develop, they reflect new teachings, and then sometimes new movements and trends that start to develop, as we'll see. So they're quite vast, the scriptures. Foundational to them are, first of all, to the left, as you'll see here, the 4 Vedas are also called the Samhitas. And the 4 Vedas that you've got listed there, plus the Brahmanas and the Aranyakas and the Upanishads altogether, those are appendices attached at later time periods, as you can see the dates. Right? The Rig Veda is first, it's foundational, and then later the Brahmanas got added on as an appendix, and they're basically commentaries, priestly commentaries on the Vedas. And then at a later period, what gets added on as appendix are the Aranyakas, and I'll go through all these more, and then a bit later yet the Upanishads. Okay, so they're all appendices added on over time. And so what we'll see is quite an evolution of belief and practice in ways from the very beginning as time goes on, that there's going to be major changes and shifts that happen in Hinduism, in the religion. And all kinds of new ideas are going to develop here. Okay, so I'm hoping everything's working okay, always. So now, first off, in the scriptures, we've got here the Vedas, and this here a whole component called the Samhitas, if you like. They're referred to as Shruti, which means these texts here are regarded as revealed. They are of the highest authority. They're not mere, they don't represent mere human opinion. It's believed that in ancient times, there were the wise ones, the seers. They were able to so tune in to the universe that they then received these teachings, this knowledge, that is a type of divine revelation, as you like. It's not a divine revelation in the sense of, say, the Bible, where it's God speaking to a prophet type of thing. Instead, it's more of just an attunement of their consciousness to that of the universe, that they just basically got a download of this higher information, sort of the idea. So these texts here are regarded as revealed, and that is in distinction to, in distinction to further additional texts that develop later yet, which we'll go through again later. These are called the non-Vedic texts, or Smriti. And Smriti is a term that means that which is remembered. And they basically represent human tradition, more human teachings. Okay, they're not of the same status as being revealed and as ultimate in rituals. And I want to talk here now a bit about public rituals. As you can see here, done by usually a group of priests, and would always involve a fire. Okay, remember Agni is so key for bringing the offerings up to the gods. Okay, and there'd be several priests who will have different roles that they play, and they use the scriptures in these roles. So first of all, the Rig Veda, which is foundational, is basically 10 books of over 1,000 hymns. And these basically are prayers where they call upon the gods. And I'll just read a little bit of one, I worship Agni, the priest of the gods, the minister of the sacrifice, the bestower of blessings. May Agni, who is worshipped by ancient and modern seers, may he conduct the gods here. Through Agni, one can gain wealth day by day and success and a future glorious with many sons. And oh, Agni, the sacrifice and ritual which you encompass, you indeed bring it to the other gods. And it goes on about basically worshiping Agni and calling upon Agni, okay, for example. And so there'll be many hymns to the various deities. And so that's the Rig Veda. It's a composition of all these hymns. So one priest will be using the Rig Veda as they're doing a ritual. He'll be saying the prayer, okay, calling upon particular gods. Okay. Then the other Veda, it's called the Sama Veda, is simply the same content as the Rig Veda. Okay, it's just selections from the Rig Veda that another priest will be chanting. And there the emphasis will be on the sound frequency of the words. And so they'll be then chanting, oh Agni, we call upon you now to be present. Oh Agni, we call upon you. And it would be basically the same words, but here the focus is on getting the right vibrational frequency of the sound, because that's where the power is. That's where, boom, it'll be connected to that God through the sound frequency, okay? As opposed to just saying the prayers in a more conceptual way and just normal talking, okay? Then there'll be a third priest who will use the Yajurveda. The Yajurveda, half of this material is from the Rig Veda, okay, just the same material, half of it, along with words and formulas and phrases of magical power. Okay, we in India they call them mantras. Okay, mantras, and these words of power were used. This priest would be actually doing the physical operation of the ritual. So he might be, first of all, getting the fire ready for Agni to be lit, for the fire to be lit and to call in Agni. So he'd be saying, now may this place here where the fire is to be lit, may it be pure and holy. And, and I speak forth the holiness of this place now. And so he'll be doing the physical, maybe sweeping and preparing the place where the fire is going to be built. And then he'll have the words and the right formula to make sure it's pure. And then he'll put the wood together and he'll light a match if he had a match, okay? And as he lights a match, and may Agni come and be present in the fire now. And he'll have these words of power that, boom, Agni is now present as the fire is lit, okay? Are you kind of with me here? So he'll be doing physical things, the physical operations of the ritual, and it will correlate with what the others are doing in terms of chanting from the Rig Veda. But he'll have special formulas, words and phrases of power that will make the ritual effective. It will be the power that will be unleashed in the ritual. That Agni will be now in the fire, as he says these words. And as they do different things, boom, this is how it's going to happen. It's going to have an effect. And this is a key thing. It was believed these rituals literally have power. Okay, they're tapping it. This is so important for even understanding how all of this evolves. So that's what the Vedas were used. They were used in the rituals and for rituals to invoke, call upon the gods and ask them to do this, to protect us, to bring us success and wealth and whatever. And boom, they were doing stuff in the rituals. Okay. Well, then over time, and then you see down below here, the Atharva priest, that was a section of the Veda that was totally distinct. Okay, it had no connection to the other three Vedas. This was a collection of material that was used by the Atharvan priest alone for doing, as I mentioned earlier, the special needs rituals. For if anybody in their household, they had a sick baby that needed healing, they'd call on the Atharvan priest. He would come and he would use the Atharva Veda that would have the healing spell to bring healing to the sick baby, right? So it would be the text that they would use to help meet the needs of the people, to remove a curse, to bring a special blessing, to do a love spell. Healing is a big thing, all right, to meet those special needs. So that was totally a separate thing. And a priest was specialized in that, and that Veda was used just for that purpose. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So then, as time goes on, we then get added on as an appendix the Brahmanas. And these are commentaries by the priests on the Vedas. And here in these commentaries, they start explaining, exactly how they're doing the ritual, what the ritual is all about, like in terms of the what's of doing it, like, oh, you need to get this kind of wood here, you need to have this type of a food offering, you need this and that. So it's got all the details of what and how to do the ritual, and then also starts describing why it's done. What is the purpose of the ritual? What is the meaning of it? What is it to effect? Okay. And this is where we start to see the thinking that starts going on here. And we see increasingly how they believed that as they're doing these rituals, they are really tapping into some deep, deep power. And that indeed, as they do these rituals, they're actually shifting reality, that they have magical power. And what's going to kind of evolve through this is that, yes, this is religion, but yet what the priests discover is that they actually have power through the ritual to shift reality. And it's not just about, oh, I ask the gods to come here and, oh, you make things work, you bring the rains. It's like, no, we're the ones that can bring the rain because we know how to work the magic of this ritual. So it becomes a bit of a shift where the power lies not so much in the gods answering the prayers, but in the priests doing the rituals and tapping into magical powers. Okay? They're tapping into magical powers. And so we'll see this specifically in certain rituals where this shift happens. And a key ritual that is about this is when they describe the creation of the universe. And they will, there are many stories and texts that describe the origins of the universe, the creation of this world, okay? And they're very different. And there's not one unified, concrete story of how the world came into being. And I'll read one to you later on. But the one I want to focus on right now here is there's a particular text that describes that the world was created through the sacrifice of a type of deity, okay, called Purusha. And it's called, the sacrifice of Purusha is one of the hymns here, or in the Rig Veda. And so here it describes that the universe was created through the sacrifice of this divine-like being, and that out of his body, the different parts of the universe were made. Okay, so I'll just read to you a little bit of it. He had, 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 feet, pervading the earth and the heavens on all sides. Purusha is all that is, all that ever has been, and all that is ever going to be. Okay, such is his greatness. Indeed, even greater is he. All creatures constitute 1/4 of him. 3/4 of him make up the immortals in heaven. Okay. When the gods performed the sacrifice with Purusha as the offering, they made the 4 seasons of, again, the different parts of the sacrifice made the different parts of the seasons. Let me just go here more clearly. From his mouth came the Brahmin, the Brahmin priest. From his arms came the royal class. From his thighs came the merchants. From his feet the servants. The moon came from his mind. From his eye the sun was born. From his mouth the gods Indra and Agni came, and from his breath the wind was born. From his belly came the atmosphere, from his head the heavens, and from his feet the earth in the 4 directions. Thus they fashioned the worlds. Okay, so again, it goes on, but basically describing how the gods created the whole universe through the different parts of Purusha. Well, then you'll have other texts that describe where the priests are actually now recreating the world. And they take an ox. I got that here. Which one is it? I got it on a sheet here. Yeah, the sacrifice of the ox, for example. And as they lay out this animal, the ox, the different parts of the body of the ox represent different parts of the universe. And this is a very common idea in the ancient world, is that the universe, the order of the universe, when it's first created, it's a perfect order, everything's working, and there's very little evil. Evil is tied in with chaos. Evil is tied in with things kind of breaking down and disorder coming into the universe, and things start falling apart. And we need to push back those forces of chaos and destruction, right? And to restore the original purity of the world, where everything is back in order again and at the highest level of functioning, in a sense. And so it's very common in ancient societies. There is some kind of ritual of recreating, restoring the original order and purity of the universe. And this is the case here. So they're describing the creation of the universe, and the different parts of the ox make up different parts of the world. But the interesting is also is the gods are made from the sacrifice. So it describes here, Indra is the head, Agni is the forehead, King Soma is the brain, the sky is the upper jaw, the earth is the lower jaw, lightning is his tongue, okay? Thought is his heart, wisdom his liver, hunger his paunch, right? The mountains his intestines, on and on it goes, the different body parts of just different parts of the universe. Now, as they're doing this, they are helped, like, listen, we're doing these rituals. We are recreating the universe. And in fact, we're even creating the gods. The god Indra, Agni, Soma, right? We're creating the gods. And so it starts, people start thinking and questioning, what is the nature of reality? Who are these gods? All kinds of interesting things start happening here as they, we see more clearly what they're doing through these rituals, and they start contemplating on the meaning of them and what is the actual nature of reality, and actually what the gods are all about, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what happens here is in these texts, there's going to be a lot of questioning and reflection going on. And it will go even deeper as we go into Aranyakas and the Upanishads, these sorts of thoughts and reflections. So what starts to happen here, I hope you're following me here, because this is complex and I'm going kind of deep in this because I just find this really fascinating and important. The Aranyakas, it's called the Forest Treatises. So these are later texts. And these are later texts that reflect the thinking of priests, that I like to call them renegade priests. They decide, you know what, I don't want to just stay in the community doing these rituals, the way I've always done it in order to make sure the rains come and the people are happy and everything works well. It's like, whoa, no way. I want to try to understand, what is this power that we're tapping into when we do these rituals? What is this power that we're getting into? How is it that we can recreate reality? How is it that we're actually creating the gods? What does this all mean? What is the nature of reality? Right? And they're kind of like, they withdraw from society and they retreat into the forests. That's why they're called forest treatises. They withdraw from society and go into solitude, into the forest, to contemplate the meaning of these rituals and how to all understand it. Okay, and that's why I call them renegade priests. They kind of leave the status quo and do that. And then eventually they start to experiment with all kinds of techniques. As they're trying to understand the nature of reality and they're contemplating, thinking, and reflecting, they experiment with meditation, different meditative states of consciousness. And they notice that as they shift their mind and quiet and still it, make it silent, through being in silence, being in solitude for a long period of time and just focusing the mind, it's like, wow, things happen. They start to see things differently. They start to have a different perception of reality and a different experience of reality. And then they discover that, wow, as they breathe in certain ways, how they breathe affects consciousness, affects their state of being. Have you ever noticed, for example, that, when somebody is really afraid and they're just, they can't breathe. And you tell them, come on, take a deep breath, come on, breathe, relax, you can breathe, okay, to get them out of this fear state. Because when you're in fear, you freeze, right? Or if you're really angry, it's like, you're like this. And you say, come on, now take a deep breath and hold it, count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, okay, calm down. It's a way of calming down and getting out of an anger state, right? So they sort of experiment that as you breathe differently, it shifts your state of being and affects your consciousness. And so they start experimenting with breathing techniques. Then they also found body postures, how you hold your body, how you position your body, different things about the body, that also affects your state of consciousness. Okay, if you just slouch like this, it's like, you can just fall asleep. But if you stay erect and focused, it brings a focus and clarity to the mind, if you have the right posture. Okay, there's all sorts of things. So to make a long story short, what happens here is this is where the different techniques we always associate with Hinduism and yoga start getting developed here. All right, in terms of meditation, breathing techniques, body posture, all the various things associated with yoga, they start experimenting with, right? And they find that indeed they can all affect one's perception and experience of reality. Okay, and so they start reflecting on these things and giving voice to new ideas that they're coming up with. It's a very creative time. And they start challenging some of the old ideas and old perceptions. Okay, and these new ideas then get put into these texts here, the Iranikas and the Upanishads. So the Iranikas kind of evolve and blend a bit into the Upanishads. Sometimes it's a bit hard to know where the boundary is. And the word Upanishad means to sit down beside, i.e. a guru, an enlightened one, to receive the secret teachings, the special teachings that aren't given to the masses in mainstream society, the status quo, but they are special secret teachings, okay, that only the enlightened ones have, who have withdrawn into the forest to meditate. Okay, so that's what the word Upanishad means. So the texts here, all right, so when you look at the Upanishads, for example, compared to the Rig Veda, it's almost like two different religions. There's a major shift that happens here in their thinking and understanding about things. Okay, and we'll go through that here in a sec. But I just really want you to get how it's tied in with the scriptures, how they evolve over time. Again, new scriptures always have new teachings, and we'll see that happening everywhere, okay, in the history of religion, and it's definitely here. And a key thing is that they wanted to go forth and really explore what is this power we're tapping into. Okay, so hopefully. What is the root meaning? Where does this word Brahman come from? What is the origin of this word? What does it originally mean? Well, the root source word for the word Brahman means words of magical power. Okay, mantras. These are words of magical power. That's the original root word Brahman. And the priest is called a Brahman priest because he's an expert in these words of power. Okay, that's why they're called Brahman priest. They're experts in the use of these words. And so in English, what we do is, to distinguish it, we put the accent on the second syllable, I think. I don't have it here. Do I have it here? No, I don't have it written down here. I don't have it in my notes. And then we replace the A with an I, so you're aware of that distinction. And what's going to evolve here, as they're experimenting and trying to explore the nature of this power they're tapping into the ritual, they're going to conclude that the source of that power is actually a supreme being they're going to call Brahman. Okay, they're going to call the supreme being Brahman. But I'm jumping ahead here, but I just want you to know the connection between these terms, and it's tied in also with the that one text, the Brahmanas. Okay, now let me kind of go back here. So the shift from the Rig Veda to the Upanishads, as I mentioned, it's almost like two different religions here. And there's three important shifts that take place in their thinking and understanding of things. First of all, we find in the text increased skepticism. People start questioning the gods in terms of, do they even really exist? Who's the really almighty God? Let me just read to you a couple of passages here. I can turn off the light here now. Oh, maybe that's a good idea. For example, one text goes, "Oh, if you're seeking strength, come and bring your praises to Indra, a hymn of truth, if he in truth exists." One and another, people out there are saying, "There is no Indra. Who has seen him?" But people, who then shall we worship? It's like, wait, we got to keep worshiping Indra, even though we're not too sure if he exists, but like we got to worship somebody. Okay. But you can see here, there's skepticism. People are starting to say, hey, does he even exist? Where is he? We haven't seen him. Another passage goes like this. Oh, of him, the mighty one, people are asking, where is he? Of him, indeed, they are saying, he doesn't exist. But believe in him, for he is Indra. Okay, so again, people are skeptical, but they're called by the priest as, yes, we must believe in Indra. Okay, don't give up in believing. So you've got this skepticism. And then another passage here, it says, I ask, not knowing those who would know, the wise ones. What was there in the very beginning, that one, without any image, that has established and fixed firm all these various worlds? Some call him Indra, Varuna, Agni, but to what is one, the sages, the wise ones, have given many a name. So what starts happening is a sense that, geez, are there really all these different gods? Maybe it's just really one God, one supreme God that just has different names. Okay. Is there another passage here? Yeah. Well, anyway, that's the key one. Yeah, that I wanted to read. So you get this kind of search that there must be one supreme being. And let me read you another creation story that is very interesting. It's a little bit similar to Genesis in some respects. And where, again, they're exploring, wondering, how did this world come about? Who was there in the beginning that created all of this? Okay. And so it goes like this. Neither not being nor being was there at that time. There was no air-filled space, nor was there a sky beyond this. But what enveloped it all, and where? Under whose protection? And what was this chaotic depth of water? Okay, there's a sense that there was just like a chaotic water in the beginning. And that's similar to Genesis. Neither was there death, nor even immortality at that time. There was no distinguishing mark of day and night. But all there was the one that breathed without wind in its own special manner. Other than it, now my phone's ringing. Oh, I can pause. Can I pause? I can. How can I pause? Pause. Oh, more. Pause. Is it recording? I think so. Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so to continue. Sorry about that. As I was saying in this text here, the one breathed without wind in its own special manner. Indeed, other than it and beyond, nothing else existed whatsoever. And in the beginning, there was darkness concealed in darkness, and all this was an indistinguishable flood of water. But that which possessed life force, enclosed in a vacuum, the one, was born through the power of heat. And where does it go here? But who knows for sure? Who's certain? Who can proclaim it here? Out of what all this creation came from? The gods appeared only later, after the creation of the world. So who knows then out of what it has evolved? Okay, so this is very interesting, isn't it? So here there is this searching, this quest as to what was there in the very beginning. Whoops. Now why is this? Let me go back here. So there is this search. There's a sense, though, that there must have been something, the one, this mysterious something up there. But who and what is it? Does it have a name? What could be its name? It sort of pre-exists the gods. The gods that we know of, Indra, Agni, Varuna, and Soma, they only came later, after the creation of this world. So it's interesting. Here there is the quest for the one, and they start playing with what should we call it. They're thinking, is it just heat, like energy, or is it food, because we all need food for life? What should we call the one, the supreme being? And they settle on the name Brahman. Okay, Brahman, the supreme being, the word from mantra, this words of power. It's like, this is the power of the universe. The source of all that is this power, is then the name that they're going to pick for the supreme being that's beyond the gods. Okay, so this is an important shift that starts happening here, and they'll start philosophizing about this more and more in the Upanishads, these sorts of things. The second shift is about the afterlife. What actually happens when you die? Now, we saw in the early period how the belief that the Aryans brought with them is that indeed you just have this one life. And when you're dead, the body gets cremated, and Agni will, as the body transforms from the physical into the spiritual through that smoke, Agni is the one that takes you to be judged by Varuna, who then determines if you go up to the house of the ancestors or down into the house of clay. And that was it. And it would last forever. Okay, once you die, it lasts forever. But then they start questioning, and the gurus, the enlightened ones in the forest, they start thinking, wait a minute here, why is it that you get to go with the house of the ancestors? It's because of your actions, your deeds. And this is where I'd want to write the word karma, okay, on the board, K-A-R-M-A. The word karma literally just simply means deeds or actions. And so they thought, well, Varuna is judging you according to your actions, your deeds, your karma. And based on those deeds, you are deserving of a reward for your actions. You are a good person, you get a reward. You did so much good, you should get so much reward. And the idea starts to develop, why is it that if a person lived only 5 years and another one lived 100 years, and they both equally get the same reward in terms of eternity in heaven with the gods? It was sort of a sense that no, everybody only gets so much reward that fits with the amount of action they created. So if you did so much good, so much reward, so much good, so much reward, eventually that reward for your good actions, it will run out. It becomes exhausted. Okay, that's the sort of the phrase he uses, your spiritual merit, your spiritual brownie points for being a good person, the reward for that will run out. It becomes exhausted. And so they held that after judgment, where you are then going either the upper world or the lower world, because of your karma, your actions, the reward for it, the consequences, will eventually run out and expire. And poop, you come back to earth. You will reincarnate. And that's how the concept of reincarnation develops here. Okay, this is what they think. It's like, it shouldn't last forever. Your reward will run out and you come back to earth in another life form. So that's what's going to happen there. And then, excuse me, with this power that's being accessed through the rituals, okay, and as they're doing these rituals, they lay out the ox, and the different parts of the ox become the different parts of the universe. It's like, and then as they do this to the ox, they are literally recreating the whole universe. It's like, how could this be? That means that everything has to be connected. That if the head of the ox, that this part of the head is the god Agni, it's connected to this god or this part of the universe. That means it's all somehow connected. How is it connected? It's connected through these words of power. That this power we're tapping into is what connects the whole universe. So that there is a micro-macrocosmic connection. Okay? That everything is interconnected. Excuse me. And so here is where this slide is, that there exists micro-macrocosmic interconnections. That the ox is like a miniature universe, a microcosm, okay, that is connected to the larger universe or the macrocosm. They are interconnected. So reality is seen as an interconnected whole. The whole is in the part. Okay, but then it's asked, what is it that connects it all? What is it that can be the basis of these connections? Is none other than the Supreme Being Brahman. The Supreme Being Brahman is the essence that connects all that is. Okay, you guys with me here? Now here, I'll just show, boy, excuse me. On the right here is the is an image. This actually comes from a European medieval text of some kind. And here's a human body and all the different signs of the zodiac. Okay, you've got Pisces, the fish, the two fish for the sign of Pisces at the feet. Oh, I don't know what they all are. There's Sagittarius is the, half, I don't know, what is it, horse and human. And Gemini are the two arms. Leo is there at the heart. Cancer is the crab, right? You've got, anyways, they're all the different symbols of the zodiac. And so it's just, again, a symbol of how the zodiac represent the whole of the universe out there, the heavens. And so it's saying, as the heavens exist out there, that is here within the body. Okay, that which is within, that the human being is also interconnected with the whole universe, right? That is, I'm a miniature version of the whole universe. This is an idea that shows up in the history of religion, East and West and all over the place. Okay, and we're seeing it here in India. We'll see it over in Europe. This is an idea that develops of the whole Western esoteric tradition. It shows up everywhere. Okay, so now where on earth are my slides? So am I going backwards or forwards? Okay, so these are 3 important shifts in thinking and that take place. And so when we get to, from the Rig Veda to the Upanishads, there's all kinds of new ideas. Yeah, and this is where I kind of highlighted. You can read here, the renegade priests who abandon doing public rituals, they go into the forest to meditate, to explore the nature of reality that they're tapping into in these rituals. What is the power that connects everything? How is it that they can recreate the universe, right? What really happens to the soul after death? And all these new ideas develop. And these renegade priests, they become the enlightened ones, the gurus, that others then will seek out to receive their secret teachings, and they'll develop all kinds of techniques for shifting consciousness. Yoga, breathwork, meditation is going to be later summed up by Patanjali, as we'll talk about. Okay, and I went through that. And so now we'll get into the key concepts of Hinduism. But just to backtrack before I get that, I'd like just to read one more passage here that highlights that idea of these renegade priests. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, because it was a bit of an elite, well, if you want to call it elitism, that comes up. But here's in the Upanishads, and they talk about the mainstream priests. Okay. And the gurus in the forest, these renegade priests who go to meditate on the nature of reality, who come up with all these ideas, they start challenging, and they say this: the fools who delight in doing their sacrificial rituals as being the highest spiritual good, they will again and again go through the cycle of death and rebirth. They'll just keep on reincarnating. Abiding in the midst of ignorance, wise only in their own estimate, thinking themselves to be learned, but really they're just hard struck. These fools will go round in a circle like blind men being led by the blind. Abiding in this ignorance, they all the same, like immature children, think to themselves, we've accomplished our aim. We're doing the right thing as the Brahmin priests, okay, doing their usual rituals for the community. Well, since, I need to, this is getting to be such a rough copy. Since something, anyways. I don't know. Therefore, they, why am I'm surprised here. How come? Okay, anyways. But then he says, therefore, they have, these wretched ones, they say, no, there they are. Since the performance of sacrificial ritual do not realize the truth because of their passions, their physical material desires for this world, these wretched ones, they will sink down from heaven when the reward which qualified them for the higher world becomes exhausted. Okay, their reward will run out and they come back to earth. Regarding sacrificial rituals as most important, these deluded ones do not know of any other higher spiritual good. Having enjoyed themselves only for a time on top of the heaven won by good deeds, they will re-enter this world or yet a still lower one. But those who practice disciplines and faith in the forest, the tranquil ones, the enlightened ones, the knowers of truth, they will depart from this world, freed from all desires, through the door of the sun to where dwells the immortal supreme being, Brahman. Okay? So having scrutinized these worlds here, one through sacrificial rituals, a priest should arrive at nothing but disgust. The world that was not made cannot be won by what is done in this world. For the sake of knowledge, one should go with an offering in hand as a student in all humility to a guru who is well versed in the scriptures and is firm in his realization of Brahman, the supreme being. So he's basically saying that, by doing the rituals and whatnot, all those sorts of things that are focused on this world, it will attach you to this world. You come back to this world. But if you totally leave this world and engagement with it in ways, that is what will set you free from future rebirth. And this is going to be kind of an idea that will be taught here in the Upanishads. And there's going to be a lot of that's behind the practice of yoga, as we'll see. So you can see here, there's this tension between the regular priests still doing their rituals of, calling on the gods, do this and that, and doing the usual rituals, where those renegade priests going to the forest, like, no, we want to connect to the deeper truths behind all of this. And they become the enlightened ones, and they come up with different ideas. Okay. So I think I will pause and stop this recording here and start a new one, or I'll do it tomorrow.